Good Wednesday morning. It's November 25th, 2020. I'm Guy McPherson of GuyMcPherson.com, otherwise known as NatureBats Last, and I'm here to provide the second episode of a new series called Science Update. If you go to GuyMcPherson.com, you'll be able to find this particular Science Update at the title, Science Update, COVID-19 Smothering in Rural U.S., West Trails East, indicating that I'm covering two separate but related aspects of the pandemic crisis in the United States specifically and in the West as opposed to the Eastern world. Okay, first from National Geographic, and again the link to the paper and embedded figures are both included at the Science Update for today, November 25th, 2020. The headline from National Geographic reads, COVID-19 has been smoldering in rural America for months. Here's why we missed it. And the subhead, a dangerous combination of limited resources, stigma, and politics made the coronavirus difficult to track in rural areas, allowing its spread to go largely unnoticed all summer. Summer in the Northern Hemisphere is when the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic was occurring. And here's how bad it is. So many Alaskans are sick, according to this paper in National Geographic, that officials are falling behind with logging data, so the state may be only accounting for half the true cases, according to Alaska Public Media. The infections are straining hospital capacity. People are being ostracized because they report that they have symptoms, that they have COVID-19, and their friends are ostracizing them because they believe it's fake, that it's some sort of Chinese hoax. People are still buying into that idea. So several reasons that we missed COVID-19 and particularly the severity of the crisis in rural America as the second wave, and now I presume as the third wave is getting underway. From Eudomia, an article by Umair Haque, the West's failure on COVID is even more staggering than you think. And the figure embedded at GuyMcPherson.com for this episode really tells the whole story. The West has failed catastrophically on COVID. That's the bottom line. The East, in contrast, has pioneered what's now a global template of best practices for COVID. How many people would have died in the West had it acted like South Korea? South Korea took exemplary action with respect to masks and social distancing. You could substitute New Zealand or Vietnam for South Korea, or an average of the world's most successful nations at COVID. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the huge disparity in response in the West, including Western Europe and the United States, and the East. If we had all acted as South Korea or New Zealand or the East generally, the West would have seen just 12,000 deaths. 12,000 deaths. How many have actually died? 500,000 and counting. That's a huge difference. This means that 97.6% of COVID-19 deaths in the West are in excess of what could have happened had appropriate steps been taken in Western nations. Modern history has no comparisons for what we're going through right now. A nuclear bomb is the closest we can get. The last ones killed approximately 100,000 people. Each of the two nuclear bombs launched by the United States on Japan. The West is now suffering 5 times that level of death. It's as if we are in the midst of a nuclear war, but the war is being promoted and caused by us, the West in general. This is a tragedy, and until we have significant leadership throughout the Western nations taking hold, I don't see any of this turning around. We're now in the midst of the third wave. From bad to worse is the phrase that comes to mind.